You know those quiet moments, maybe right after you close the laptop for the day, or just before everything starts up in the morning? A question has a way of bubbling up. When is it enough? Today, we are going to get right into this universal, silent conflict, that fundamental tension between our powerful drive to achieve and our deep-seated need to just find peace. All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll frame the conflict itself. Then we'll define the two big forces at play here. After that, we'll expose a psychological trap that fuels this whole thing. And then, and this is key, we'll look at how these two forces can actually work together. We'll wrap up with some really practical strategies and a new way to look at this whole thing as a lifelong dance.
So let's start right there. Let's put a name to that feeling, that core problem that so many of us experience but really struggle to put into words. This one question. This is the absolute heart of it all, isn't it? It's like the ghost in the machine of our modern lives, a life that really worships the idea of more. More followers, more revenue, more everything. This very question is what kicks off that internal tug of war between our ambition and our contentment. Okay, so to really get a handle on this conflict, we've got to clearly define the two powerful forces that are wrestling for control inside of us.
Now, it is so crucial to see these not as a hero and a villain, but just as different ways of existing. Ambition? Well, that's the becoming. It's the engine that's driven every single breakthrough in human history. And then you have contentment. That's the being. It's this radical acceptance of right now. And that's not laziness. It's a kind of profound internal wealth.
So why does this whole thing often feel so painful and just unending? Well, it's because a lot of us, myself included sometimes, are caught in a really common psychological trap.
Ah, yes, the arrival fallacy. This is the great lie we tell ourselves, right? I'll finally be happy when. The problem is, this turns your ambition into a thief. It literally steals the joy from today in service of a tomorrow that, when it finally gets here, delivers a high that's just disappointingly short.
And this is the cycle that it creates. You hit the goal, you feel that momentary rush, and then almost immediately your brain asks, okay, what's next? It is a perpetual treadmill of dissatisfaction where the finish line just keeps moving further and further away. So if you go to one extreme, all in on ambition with zero room for contentment, you end up right here. This is that classic story, the successful person who has all the external signs of making it, but just feels hollow inside. They basically won the war, but lost their soul in the process. But the other extreme is just as dangerous. This is what happens when we misuse the idea of contentment to keep ourselves stuck. We tell ourselves to just be grateful for a job that's crushing our spirit, and we suppress a healthy ambition that's actually trying to tell us, hey, we need a change. Okay, so this is the crucial point. We have to stop seeing this as a battle to be won. The real breakthrough happens when we start to see it as a partnership. The biggest myth we need to bust is this idea that you have to choose. You're either a miserable, striving achiever or you're a happy, stagnant loafer. That's a false choice. The reality is, these two forces can become incredibly powerful allies. And here's exactly how that partnership works. See, contentment provides the fuel. When you have a stable, peaceful emotional foundation, you can think more clearly, you can take bigger, smarter risks. Then, ambition comes in and provides the direction. It gives all that energy a channel, so your inner peace doesn't just turn into aimless boredom. So, how do we actually do this? Let's get into the practical toolkit. I'm talking 3 actionable strategies you can start using to find your own center. And listen, these aren't just abstract ideas. These are 3 concrete methods you can literally start using today to begin balancing the scales in your own life. Strategic gratitude makes this super tangible. At the end of each day, just list 3 things you achieved that feeds your ambition and 3 things you genuinely enjoyed that feeds your contentment. It's a simple act, but it anchors you in both of these worlds at the same time. Next up, we have to redefine what success even means. So instead of being fixated on the destination, the trophy, learn to love the process, the training. If you can find joy in the daily work itself, the friction between ambition and contentment just starts to dissolve. The doing becomes the reward. And finally, balance your goals. Most of our ambitions are tied to external things, money, status, you name it. We need to intentionally set internal goals right alongside them. Things like maintaining a calm mind in a crisis or being truly present with your family. These are goals you can achieve every single day, and they provide an immediate, reliable source of contentment.
So let's bring this all together with a final and I think really powerful metaphor for how you can approach this for the rest of your life.
The biggest mindset shift is realizing this isn't a problem you solve once and for all. The goal is not to find some perfect, static middle ground where you stay forever. The real skill is to become keenly aware of the dynamic itself, that constant push and pull.
Think of it like a dance, and the art of this dance is simply knowing when to lean. When you feel that anxiety of ambition getting way too loud, that's your cue to lean into practices that bring contentment. And when you feel that stagnation of just settling creeping in, well, that's your signal to lean right back into ambition. And this, right here, is the ultimate payoff. When you navigate this dynamic with real intention, you unlock a richer, more sustainable definition of success. You don't just achieve more, you actually enjoy more of your life along the way. Look, some seasons of your life are going to call for more ambition and others for more contentments. We've offered the framework and the steps here, but ultimately, the choreography of your own unique, beautiful dance, well, that's entirely up to you.